Do you do you ever wonder why, whenever you ask someone for help, whether it is an educator, a teacher, a specialist of some kind, when you're asking them for help with your child who's constantly hitting, you just keep hearing crickets, or everybody's just trying to redirect the conversation? It is a subject that a lot of people are afraid of. I'm just going to flat out say it. It is a very touchy subject. Nobody wants to be held accountable for it. And you, as a parent, are kind of stuck having to navigate this blindly. So, this is what we're going to be talking about today. For those who don't know me, I am Danielle C. Baker. I am the founder and CEO of Being Connected. I specialize in effective values based parenting, and I help parents navigate their realities as parents. But don't get it twisted when you work with me. We're going to focus on your child's need. So we're going to have to put the ego and the pride aside, and let's jump right in. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C. Baker. And before we get started, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And of course, with season 2, this episode is brought to you by the amazing Self-Esteem Doctor Online Academy with the wonderful, beautiful, amazing Dr. Simone Alicia. I will put a link down in the description and the comments so that you can go have a look at her resources. The Self-Esteem Doctor Online Academy is packed with resources, workshops, all sorts of different talks about working on your child's self-esteem, confidence. It works for children, teenagers, adults as well. I use it regularly on myself, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So be sure to have a look. There is a lot of resources that can help you, that goes in line with what I talk about with the realities of parenting. So we're going to jump right into a topic today that everybody tries to avoid, it like the plague. Parents don't want to necessarily have to deal with it because they're overwhelmed with the situation. And um, and a lot of people, especially teachers, I mean, I worked in schools for 20 years. I worked in daycares, and it is difficult. There's so many variables at play here that it's hard to jump in and have that one magic formula that will stop your child from hitting or just being difficult. And what I'm going to be talking about is going to be a series of podcasts, because what I'm going to talk to you about and the proven things that actually work, I've done them myself. I've seen it myself in the process of 20 years. I can tell you that they do work, even if you don't believe me. And it will work for if your child keeps hitting, they throw tantrums, they don't want to do homework, anything that will just make your life harder. It will work. You just have to invest the time, because it's not going to work overnight, just like any change. So I just want to put that out there. I also want to put out there and make it very clear that this works for children who would not have any underlying challenges. So what I mean about that is that there is no diagnosis of some sort. There's no spectrum, no ADHD, no whatever other developmental or differently able children would the challenges that they would have to go through. So we're just talking about a child that is just having a hard time expressing what they're feeling. They don't have the words to it yet. So I am going to talk about the thing. I don't like talking about this because you automatically get judged and people will hate me for it. But we are going to talk about the principles of positive discipline. And that we get a huge reaction to that because it is still a very foreign concept. And I will tell you, full disclosure, I never believed in it until I had my own children. No, actually, when I had my own children, I still didn't believe in it because I was raised the old way. And it's only when I started working in schools, and this is something that we had to put into effect, and then I saw the results. And I also saw that it worked at school, didn't work with the parents, that I knew that we were on to something there. So there are some good sides to positive discipline, positive reinforcement, all of that fun stuff. The biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle to overcome is to overcome your beliefs on it. And we have to remember that we were not raised with positive reinforcement and positive discipline. It was quite the opposite. And people are so stubborn to say, well, this is the only way, when we're being too soft with our children. We are creating soft generations, and all these battles with generations right now is a good example of it. But if you think about it, if the old way of disciplining children was so effective, why are we still having issues? Right? If we keep doing the same thing and not getting any different results, then it's just madness. And so I'm all about breaking generational patterns and cycles, and even abuse, and negative disciplining can lead to abuse. And it is most of the time a form of abuse. So let's not make that a normal thing. Let's not make that an acceptable thing. And let's accept the fact that the way that we've been doing it for centuries does not work. And so that's my little spiel. We'll go right in. I am going to give you some tips. If my child is hitting constantly, whether it's siblings at school, strangers, myself, what do you do? A lot of parents don't know what to do, and how is positive discipline going to work when my child is being a terror, is the other thing too. Disciplining using violence to discipline violence is not effective at all. So when your child is hitting, the one thing that you have to understand with positive discipline or positive reinforcement is you need to get in line, aligned with your child in this situation before you can even think of correcting the behavior. So you need to tune into your child and kind of gauge this situation before you jump in. So think about, you find a stray dog outside. Before you jump and start running at it to shoo it away, you're going to find out first, are there owners there? Is it safe? Do I want to be approaching this unknown animal? I'm not saying that your children are an animal. I'm talking about the situation itself. Let's gauge the situation, because what I am seeing at this moment in my emotions, because my child is hitting, and of course you're going to react to this. What is the bigger picture? So take a step back. It takes a few seconds, but just gauge your child to see what the situation really is. So what do you need to do? When your child is hitting, they're already in a state where they can't think straight. So you can't start interrogating and giving them the morals and all of that, because they're not listening at that point. But you need to listen. So ask them, okay, what's going on? Listen. And then the other thing is you have to validate the emotions. Don't forget that when they're hitting is usually a sure sign that they're feeling something that they can't express. So it just comes out that way. It's just like, I don't know what this means. So I'm just this is the way that I can handle it right now. So you need to listen. They're not going to want to talk. And you need to validate their emotions, but they don't know what emotions they're feeling at this point. So yeah, that's really nice. And this is where the positive discipline gets a bad rap, is, okay, well, this is not working. And I'm going to give you the third, because there's 3 steps to the positive discipline. There's that listen attentively. And when I say listen, they're not talking. The body language talks a lot more than words talk. So look at the body language. How is your child breathing? Is it red in the face? Are the fists clenched? Just look at it. Is it the breathing? Is it really, really quick breathing? Look at all of that stuff. It speaks without words. You need to validate the emotions. So you need to say, okay, you're frustrated, you're sad, you're angry, you're whatever. You try to gauge a little bit, but you're not drilling them, right? It's not that you're just trying to figure out how are they feeling, what's going on. The third part is the most important part, and this is why positive discipline won't work for many people who don't believe in it. It's how are you reacting to this? And this is the biggest part. The minute your child hits somebody, we're going into complete just like natural instincts. First of all, is who's hurting my child? What are people going to think about me? What is going on? This is not acceptable. I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to be in trouble. We're not even thinking about our child anymore. What are people going to think? So how are you reacting to the situation? Because children at that point, especially when they've reached that point, they don't listen anymore. They learn through our actions. So if we are reacting aggressively, if we're all hyped up, we're heavily breathing, we're all tensed up, our body language is mirroring the child. So the child is not going to learn to calm down if you're not calm. So this is the switch that needs to be done from the traditional way of disciplining to this positive discipline. And that switch is don't react, but pause. There's a lot of power in a pause. And if you don't believe me, just be in a meeting at work or with friends or even with your spouse or anybody and go silent for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is really long. Try with 10 seconds. Everybody starts shifting. Everybody gets awkward. You pause, you're getting a quicker reaction. You're giving a, how can I say this? The results are going to be faster because now your child doesn't know. They're expecting you to yell. They're expecting you to, you know, give them the morals. They're expecting all of that, but you stop and pause. They don't know what to expect anymore. And that's going to make them pause. But the other reason why you want to pause is that when we are hot, we cannot deal or handle the situation with reason. We are in our own tantrum. We're in the adult tantrum at that point. So when you're not able to handle the situation properly, and again, your child is going to learn through you. So if you're not able to handle your emotions, how is your child supposed to handle their emotions? Right? So this is the most important part out of the 3 steps of the positive discipline. The third one is the most important one. So things that you can say. Okay, so we could talk about a child that's hitting. We could talk about a child that's cursing you out. Okay, it's kind of all the same. It's aggressive behavior. It's unacceptable behavior. It's disrespectful. It falls under this thing. I mean, hitting is a little bit more extreme because now there's violence, like physical violence, but words can hurt just as much. So you could say, okay, this is not acceptable. The words that you are using are not acceptable. Hitting me or hitting somebody is not acceptable. And I'm going to need a minute. I need you to give me a minute to calm down and then we'll talk about it. So what is that doing? Again, depending on the level of maturity of your child, you may have to word this differently, but you're teaching your child that you are not in an emotional state to handle the situation properly, which is exactly what they're doing at that point. If they're hitting, if they're cussing you out, they're not handling the situation properly. So you're teaching them what they should be doing. Say, that's how you teach your child to calm down when they get heated. It works because now your child has no clue what to expect. They need to calm down. You need to calm down. Let's establish that. It's not going to work right away. There's some times where it won't work because your child is in a rage. That's different. So we're just talking about they're not getting their way, they're upset, they're hungry, they're tired, whatever it is. That's not the healthy way of handling our emotions. So that's the first thing. We pause. So now they don't know what to expect. And then you tell them this was not acceptable at all. Not at all. I need a minute because I'm upset now. I need a minute to calm down. You need to give me that minute and then we'll talk. You need that minute to calm down and then we'll talk about it. Be sure to talk about it. There's that first teachable moment for your child. So when can you use that? Those are the techniques of the positive. So I said earlier, hitting your siblings, violent outbursts, tantrums in public. Now, talking about tantrums, not meltdowns. Remember when I told you this is just a general way of handling bad behavior. Whenever you need to change a behavior that is disruptive, you could use it. So when your child is hitting, and I do have some notes because I don't want to forget anything. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be talking about hitting a sibling because that is the most common thing. Children can most of the time be well behaved in public. They'll be little angels in public, but as soon as they come home, they can be little terrors, and their siblings will get the bulk of it. So, what happens when my child hits their sibling? So, there are a few things that you need to do. First, you need to identify the trigger. What happened to get your child to start hitting? Now, don't assume. Um, you need to be objective about this. What's the trigger? What's the situation? Right? What's the setting? Are they tired? Are they hungry? Were they provoked by the sibling? Because that's a whole other dynamic, right? Those are the things that you need to look at. So the first thing is, before you even react, before you say anything, is okay, what was the trigger? What's the situation? Right? And assess the situation. What's the setting? What's your child's mood? What's going on right now? Is it lunchtime? Is it snack time? Are they did they sleep well? Are they maybe feeling sick? That's another thing. Or was the sibling the little brat that started it all and now is playing the victim? Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, there's always, whenever a child is hitting somebody, and this is very important, they don't do it out of spite. They don't do it because they're terrors. There is a hidden need. They need something that is hidden. They don't know how to ask for it. They don't know how to express it. And so it comes out like this. Most of the time, again, I'm generalizing, but most of the time, hitting is because of they're frustrated. Generally, again, there's other issues, but they don't have the words to express their frustration. The need here is going to have to give them the words and show them how to use them properly so that they're not hitting. And then the other thing that you have to do, especially when it comes to hitting, is you're going to need to separate the children. There's a safety issue here, and that is an obligation as a parent. You need to make sure that the children are safe. So it works in a classroom setting as well. As the first thing you're going to have to do is separate the children so that the one that was hit does not get hurt any further, or that it doesn't escalate even worse. You can get to the situations where furniture starts flying. So separate the kids. They both need to calm down at this point, and you're going to need to calm down. You pause. Everybody pauses. Everybody calms down. Now, this is hard for children, but you got to remember they're the children. You're going to have to show them how to calm down. So that's why I say it's not going to work right away. You're going to have to teach them to this, because right up until then, you have not been teaching them this. So when I say nobody wants to take accountability for this, this is happening. That means that adults around them have not taught those children to calm down when emotions get a little too strong. So there's a teachable moment there for the adults. You haven't taught your children how to handle this in a healthy way. You can't expect them to just do it overnight. You're going to have to teach them properly. So pause, calm. You got to remember also the reason why that pause is so important, that first step, is at that point, the minute your child hits their sibling or whoever else, they're going to feel bad about it. They know they did something wrong. They know they're going to get punished. They know that they were bad. Okay, that's the first words that are going to come out of anybody's mouth when a child is hitting somebody is, oh, this is such a bad child. This is such a bad idiot. Blah, 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 blah. The child feels bad. The child feels embarrassed. So that pause is so important for the child to be able to calm down, because they're already all hyped up even more, because now they know they're going to get yelled at, that they're being judged, that they disappointed you, and that they're hurt their sibling. They love their siblings, but at this point, they just had a bad moment. They're not a bad child. They just had a bad moment. And that's another thing that's very important to teach children. There are no such thing as bad children. There's just bad moments. We all have those moments. So we need to break away from the belief that in order to make a child feel better, we need to make them feel worse by humiliating them, by embarrassing them, by belittling them. And this is what negative discipline does. We start yelling at them. That pause helps them to calm down. They're already beating themselves up for it. They don't need you to chime in. So separate the kids is first assessed, separate the kids, pause, and then You talk to your child for what could we do to feel better. That doesn't imply hitting. So even with younger children, this can work. Of course, you're going to use it in language that they can understand to say, okay, we know hitting is bad. That's not acceptable. And there's some consequences to it. You don't have to scare them into thinking that they're criminals. But how could we handle this better? How did that feel for you just before you start having that conversation with them? To say, how did it feel for you? Did you feel hot? Did you feel like you were boiling? Did you feel like you were shaking? Did you feel like, how was your breathing? Get them to recognize how their body reacts to frustration, because we all react differently. And this is why textbooks can't work in dealing with children that hit or any other destructive behaviors, because everybody is different. So get them to feel that. If they can't explain how they feel, go any senses. If you could give whatever it is you're feeling, if you could give it a color, what color was it? That's going to help you. So when they do get angry, when you start noticing that they're getting angry, just okay, what's the color right now? What's the color? And these are codes that they're going to get, that's going to help them to be able to stop themselves before they start doing it again. So, how could we have done this better? What could we have done? How could we have handled it better? And you have to understand that when siblings hit each other, there's usually two reasons. And I mentioned earlier that they could be provoked, but most of the time when your child is only hitting the brother or sister, it's because they want your attention. That's the majority. You can't always assume, but just think, hitting is usually frustration, or hitting is usually to get your attention. So what are the solutions that you can do for that? If you determine that that's what it is, they want your attention, because they know that if they keep hitting their little sister or little brother, or if they keep hitting the big brother or big sister, the big brother or sister is going to react. Then allow it to have some devoted time with your child. Allow them to have every day, it could be just 10-15 minutes of just one-on-one. Nobody can interrupt. It's just you and me. You have all of my attention. And the best way to show your child that they have all of your attention is to let your child choose the activity that you're going to do and have them lead the activity. So don't tell them what to do. If they want to draw, you're going to hear this now. There may be a fight. I was talking to you about a puppy. There's also a cat in the area. So a cat and the dog sometimes are also looking for attention. That's what we're saying is, if they decide to draw, I'll give you that as an example. Have them lead it. Don't tell them what to draw, how to color it. Just, okay, what color should I use for this? Have them lead it and do it. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, have them, what else do you want me to draw? Where can I help you with this? So those are the kind of things. Sorry, I'm going to have to give a head scratch because he's going to start to see. I got one that needs attention right now. So that's what you're going to do. Devote that time, 10-15 minutes, set it up. Okay, what are we going to do today? Is just you and me. So then they're not looking for attention in a negative way. They're getting attention from you from a positive way. That is a solution to do it. That would also helps when your child is leading the play or the activity or the time together, is it helps them with their confidence. They build confidence, they build trust with you. They know that they can have these great times together where they don't need to go and hurt their sibling to get your attention. And it's also when they're leading the play, that is the only way you can show them that they have your full attention, that you see them, that you hear them, that you're listening to them. The fact that don't assume that just because you're there, that you're showing them that they have your attention. Your mind could be elsewhere. You got the phone, the TV's on, you're distracted. Your child will pick up on that. You're thinking about the groceries, you're thinking about what else you have to be doing in these 15 minutes. Your child will know you're not there. By having them lead the play, they know they have your attention. They know you're listening to them. They know you're seeing them. That's the only way you get there, to show them that you are all in with them. So this is basically, like I said, this takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Imagine if I would tell you, if you're right-headed, and say from now on you get to write your name perfectly with your left hand. It's not going to happen overnight. You can practice. It's never going to look the same, but you can practice. But it's not going to happen on that first day. And if I yell at you to say, well, why can't you do this? We've talked about this before. I told you this is how it is now. It's not going to help you. So it's the same here. The children are not going to know how to react to this if you're switching to the positive. And a lot of the time, especially when they're seeking attention, if you're ignoring the bad behavior and that you used to react, they used to get your attention from the bad behavior. If they're not getting attention from you when they're hitting their little brother and sister anymore, it might happen a little bit more often because now it doesn't work anymore, so they're not paying attention. So I should hit again just to make sure that they can see, and they're kind of looking at you like, hello, I'm hitting. So that's why that pause stops that a little bit, because now they really don't. You're looking at them and you're just kind of, and for those who are not watching the video and just looking at audio, I'm just staring at the camera right now. That was just 3 seconds, but let's give you 5 seconds. That was 5 seconds. That's pretty awkward, especially on audio. For those who are just watching me stare at you, that was very awkward. Children will stop everything. You will freak out the child that's been hit. Everybody, your spouse is going to be freaked out. It works much better than yelling. So stay tuned for the other ones. I will talk about, we talked about hitting, and I give a lot of examples about hitting siblings because that's usually the first reaction that you'll get. If you have questions, if you want more on different situations, let me know so that I can make another podcast on that, or I can go live on social medias to talk about it and just have this interactive thing. But I will also be talking about when siblings are constantly bickering. That's the most annoying thing as a parent. So how can you use it to make them stop bickering? If your child doesn't want to do homework, what do you do for that? When your child throws tantrums in public, what can you do for that? So those are all different situations. I'll do different podcasts for that. I went a little long today, but I really wanted to explain the whole thing. If you have any questions, always comment and ask, contact me in any of my platforms. You will have all the places where you can contact me directly. So I hope it helped. Again, we're going to be talking about a lot more. I want to do more of these episodes where I'm going to be talking about some serious issues that we go through as parents all the time, and nobody seems to have a solution for us. So we're looking for that magic formula that doesn't exist. I'm gonna jump right in. I've got enough experience to know that there's some things that do work, even if you won't agree with me at first. But you have to look at it as you're investing time in this to teach it properly, so that you don't have to deal with it later on, because you're going to be spending a lot more time later if it's not addressed early. So I will leave you with that. I hope it helps. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe if you have, depending on which channel you're watching or listening from. And until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.